remind
Quiet,
you, we have
please.
this all the time.
Be quiet. Now, Councillor Yardley, you have introduced new material, but you're not going to have time. We're not going to have time to respond to all of this. So I think we will end the discussion here, and I think we'll go to a vote. The motion is before you.
That is anti-democratic.
The motion
and
is
extremely
before
dangerous.
you. All those in favour say aye.
We totally object.
All those against say no. The motion is failed.
No confidence in your chairing a meeting.
Motion 2. I call upon John Reynolds to move the second motion.
My name is Soid. First of all, I'd like to thank you all for giving us the opportunity to speak here. And on my left, it's
Sam.
Am I right? Yeah. So as part of the work we have been doing with senior leaders and directors, we have been exploring issues regarding climate change. The Youth Council have been really enthused about this issue and how it will affect our generation. Part of the Youth Council discussions have been focused on how to solve and overcome this great issue. We have had many Youth Council meetings to focus specifically on climate change concerns. The results of this work are part of a video presentation, and we all have contributed to this video. The Youth Council are committed to work in co-producing and co-designing with senior leaders on the future generation strategy to make the city of Wolverhampton a true, vibrant, green city we can all be proud of. Thank you.
Madam Mayor, can I suggest we reimpose standing orders, and I'll move the resolution. If we get the video working in the meantime, I'll stop and we'll do it.
Okay, I think we'll move on. Thank you.
You see, I knew if I said that it'd work.
Climate change, a change in global or regional climate pattern. In particular, a change apparent from mid to late 20th century onward, attributed largely to the increased levels of atmospheric carbon dioxide produced by the use of fossil fuels.
The impact of climate change is an important issue within our world. Climate change can increase the likelihood of flooding due to changes in rain patterns and can cause extremities in heat. It can also cause unpredictable rain patterns and seasons, as well as extreme weathers and snowless winters. Global warming is also a national issue, as low elevated coastal zones face the problem of being submerged due to rising sea levels. Low elevated coastal zones are coastal areas which are less than 10 meters above sea levels. These cities face increasing danger of being submerged. The heat wave that occurred in Europe is an example of why climate change is an international issue. You see, climate change isn't just limited to this, as it can also cause ocean acidification and warming oceans, as well as glacial retreat, shrinking ice sheets and changes in precipitation patterns, as predicted by NASA Global Climate Change.
There are a wide range of statistics that can be used to support climate change, but I will mention two. The average secondary school produces 224 grams of waste per year, so by focusing on placing sustainable recycling facilities within schools will ensure that these numbers decrease. Also, a recent article published by The Guardian highlighted the decrease in plants that are crucial to protect us from climate crisis. This article shows the importance of agriculture.
Asking the new generation to recycle regularly by 2025 is like asking a baby to walk in a day. It's unnatural. Without these habits installed in us, we can't be expected to instinctively utilise recycling facilities. One of our aims would be to install free recycling bins in all schools, which would make recycling a new human nature to allow the next set of citizens to reduce climate change.
How do we encourage these next steps? Think about our smaller businesses. Do they recycle? How much is it going to cost for them to install their recycling infrastructure? However, think about the commuting. How do we encourage people to use public transport, to car share, or for those companies who offer their company cars, think about hybrid or electric cars. Now, with schools, it's a little bit different. A lot of the schools throughout the city do not have their recycling.
Wolverhampton Youth Council in this year's Make Your Mark vote will campaign for the views of young people on climate change in the city's local vote.
Excellent, thank you very much. So we will reconvene the meeting rules now. The motion is before you. Or did you want to say something else?
I was going to move it.
Oh, right, you move it then.
Madam Mayor. I fully appreciate the Youth Council. The UK Parliament declared a climate emergency on the 1st of May this year. Over 100 councils have declared a climate emergency in the UK. I very much hope we declare a climate emergency today. But I don't think many of us will have had it made much plainer and much clearer than that presentation just by Wolverhampton Youth Council and the commitment of our young people to make the very best of their futures. And we owe it to them to make sure that we declare a climate emergency and take the appropriate actions. If I can just do a background as I've got the opportunity, the world is getting warmer. The average temperature of the Earth's surface has increased by 0.85 degrees centigrade in the last 100 years. 13 of the 14 warmest years on record have been recorded in the 21st century in the last 19 years. 2015 became the hottest year on record, only to be beaten by 2016, and in the news this morning it appears July of this year is likely to be the hottest July ever on record in the UK. Climate change, climate warming, climate heating is here, and it's here to stay. And the causes, scientists believe that gases released from industry and agriculture, known as emissions, are adding to the natural greenhouse effect, the way that the Earth's atmosphere traps some of the energy from the sun. Human activities such as burning fossil fuels like coal, oil, and natural gas of increasing the amount of carbon dioxide, CO2, the main greenhouse gas responsible for global warming. And we are also cutting down carbon-absorbing forests, so that the concentration of carbon dioxide in the atmosphere is now higher than at any other time in the last 800,000 years. Higher temperatures, extreme weather events and higher sea levels are all linked to a warming, heating climate, and they will have a drastic effect on all regions of the world. Since 1900, sea levels globally have risen on average by 19 centimetres. The rate of sea level rise has increased in recent decades and places a number of islands in places like the South Pacific and low-lying countries like Holland at risk. The retreat of polar ice sheets is also an important contributor to this rise. Arctic sea ice is shrinking because of higher temperatures, although that actually makes just a small contribution to raised sea levels. An area of sea ice, roughly 10 times the size of the UK, has been lost when compared with average levels from the early 1980s. Just to explain to people, though, quite simply, the cause of rising sea levels is what's called the thermal expansion of seawater. Just like in all our science experiments, when you heated up that iron bar and it got longer, seawater has been getting warmer and warmer over the last 200 years and will continue to do so. And the expansion of that seawater is simply making sea levels rise. So, what we're looking at in the future is shortages in fresh water, major changes in food production conditions, and a rise in the number of casualties from floods, storms, heat waves and droughts. Climate change is almost certain to increase the frequency of extreme weather events. In the last few months we've seen tropical cyclone Idai cause devastation in East and South Africa. And a recent United Nations report indicates that the conditions of climate change has almost certainly contributed to that, with at the moment estimates of 1,200 people dead and several thousand missing. 194 countries have submitted national climate plans to curb those emissions in line with the Paris Accord of 2015. And according to a UN report, those submissions, though, will still, in their current form, result in a rise of sea level, result in a rise of 2.7 degrees centigrade above pre-industrial levels by 2010. And scientists have determined that if temperatures rise above 2 degrees centigrade, it will lead to substantial, serious, dangerous climate impacts which will hit the world's poor in particular. In some respects, I'd like to say it's too late, but it's not too late, and it mustn't be too late for us as a council to sign a climate emergency, the government to back us up with that climate emergency, and Wolverhampton to take the lead locally. Madam Mayor, I wish I didn't have to, but I would move that we declare a climate emergency in Wolverhampton. Thank you.
Is that seconded?
Madam.
Yes, Madam Mayor. I formally second and reserve the right to speak.
Are there any other councillors who want to speak? Councillor Stevenson.
Is it on now? Sorry, thank you. I can start talking while the amendment goes round. I stay with regret because I support my colleagues feeling very disgruntled that Councillor Yardley wasn't allowed to finish his scrutinising of the Civic Halls project. But I felt... But this motion was important and I wanted to put our amendment forward. We welcome the declaration by the Council. We all need to take climate change incredibly seriously. We welcome the government's commitment to act on climate change. Our amendment to the motion is broadly supportive. There are very few changes. We would like financial assessments, cost implications, technology implications, to be clearly reviewed so that the Cabinet and Council can make informed decisions about the best value, the quickest way to get to net carbon neutral. I would like interim targets put in place so that we know that we are on track to meet 2028 as a date that we can achieve this aim. The other thing I would like to speak briefly on is that climate change and our environmental credentials as a council, it's not just about the big declarations jumping on a bandwagon, it's about the small things that happen across the whole council. I went to my first meeting of the Sustainability Advisory Group last week, which I'm delighted to be sitting on. I raised my pet bugbear since I've arrived here of the appalling waste from the coffee machines in the members' area, the plastic cups throughout the building. These are non-recyclable, single-use plastics. We can't make declarations that are big and sound impressive and come up with something that ticks boxes on a page while we've still got things like this. We've still got plastic cups. Those things could be changed very, very easily. They're not another example of when the council does not consider the environment in a larger policy. Purple bin deliveries. Rather than work out an efficient way to get the bins delivered to households, they were delivered in the strict order that they had been ordered on the internet in. So the lorry was driving hundreds and hundreds of miles further than it needed to put one bin in this road, one bin in another road. Managers should be taking environmental considerations into account on these small, seemingly unrelated things and acting if we want to get anywhere near having green credentials. And I regret that Councillor Thompson has left because her green spaces question, I think, was very important. And I wholeheartedly support the rest, but I do move this amendment to the motion.
Is that seconded?
Seconded, Madam Mayor.
Do other councillors want to speak on this motion? On this amendment, sorry. Councillor Bateman.
Madam Mayor, this is really an important item. I'm hoping that our group will support the original motion that's before us and that we don't get shoved aside by niceties. They walked out. They walked out. They walked out when we have an important delegation from Nepal who are suffering from flooding, from monsoon because of global warming. Dozens of their own people in the last 3 days have died because of that. And I would like to put our group, our city, on record of us wishing condolences for them in relation to that. And I was thinking, this was an absolute ideal resolution to cement the relationship that we're having with Nepal, because we're talking in more fortunate circumstances about what climate change will do to the world and to this little part of the world, Wolverhampton. And I'll sit down, but would just like to say this. Over the weekend, we put together a little bit of a litter pick on the canal in Wensfield. 4 to 5 days, turned out 53 people of all sizes, shapes, colours, politics, and they came to save their little bit of the globe, their little bit of the planet, and they went and filled a boat full of plastic with plastic materials and mattresses and bottles, and they made their point, How could we, on a day like today, ignore those people who came out in their own time on a Sunday morning, stick with the resolution, and let's be big, and let's go for the global impact that we can make in Wolverhampton on our own local government community and our own community. And don't dilute the message.
Councillor Bangor. You're not going to speak. Councillor Beverley Marmbadi.
I would just like to say that I would urge the opposition to actually issue a full apology to the Youth Council. We have young people here today who have put together a fantastic presentation. It takes a lot of courage to get up there, and they obviously wanted to present to all of our councillors, so I would urge the opposition to issue a full apology to our youth councillors, and I would commend the two remaining councillors for having the respect and decency to listen to the Youth Council and to sit through that motion.
Do you want to sum up, Councillor Stevenson, on your amendment?
No, just in brief, I don't think anything in our amendment waters down in any way. No, it doesn't. No, that says we applaud the government committing by 2050, and we support the 2028 date for Wolverhampton. We don't believe it dilutes it. We want clear signposts and costs associated with achieving a 2028 target. So I think our amendments are far less controversial than Councillor Bateman implies.
So we go to a vote on the amendment. So the amendment is before you. All those in favour say aye. All those against say no. The amendment has fallen. So now we go to a vote on the motion. No. You wish to speak? Linda Leach.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I'd like to say that the adult social care services are also making changes by supporting people with disabilities to develop independent travel so that they can use public transport, walk or cycle independently. We are also working with partners in the city to locate services together, reducing the need for greater numbers of buildings and making sure we use all our buildings efficiently. Planning the work of social work, occupational therapy, equipment and provider services to be more efficient, reducing staff travel and where possible using low pollution vehicles. Supporting people on low income to claim the right benefits and advise them of other entitlements that they can access, such as warm home grants. We are also working with housing services to ensure high quality, energy efficient properties such as extra care housing are available for our most vulnerable citizens. Madam Mayor, fighting climate change must be a key focus for all of us in our city.
Councillor Martin Waite.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I'm really pleased to support this motion, but I think we need to think about the wording of it being a climate emergency. It's not a climate slightly alarmed, and that means that we have to take some quite drastic action. We have to take drastic action in behavioural change as individuals, as householders, our friends and family. We have to change our behaviour, drive less, use public transport more, reduce the amount of energy that we use. But also as policy makers, we have to take some difficult decisions, and some of those difficult decisions are not going to be popular, but they're going to be the right thing to do. And I would hate that in 100 years' time that the residents of Wolverhampton look back on our generation and think that's the generation that just shrugged their shoulders and didn't really care because they thought, do you know what, we're all going to be dead before this happens. I want us to be the generation that actually took on that challenge and did something about it and made the future a better place. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Councillor Hibbert.
I actually agree with my colleague, Councillor Martin Waite. And one of the things I didn't actually see in this amendment is what we as individuals can do, not what the council can do. Of course, the council would do what the council would do, but we as individuals have to do our own bit as well. So what did we do? We've actually started working on this before the announcements this evening. Just like my colleague over there, a few weeks ago we had the Catch the Bus week. We have 3 councillors in Penn. The 2 Labour councillors were actually out very, very early in the morning, raising awareness and urging Wolverhampton residents and those coming into Wolverhampton to reduce their car usage and catch the bus, because one full bus can take 75 cars off the road. This campaign highlighted the impact on our air quality and environment at large. Indeed, there's an urgent need for us as a city to tackle climate change. Climate change is something we all need to be concerned about so that we as a city can improve our local environment, health, and well-being. Therefore, I welcome this motion before our council this evening, the City of Wolverhampton Council. Thank you.
John Reynolds, do you want to... Oh, Mike.
Yes, Madam Mayor. I think I rise because, as my esteemed colleague John Reynolds has pointed out, this isn't an item for today. It's actually an item for the future. And of course, as the Cabinet post holder for education and skills, it is in fact my responsibility to try and ensure that all our schools, our colleges, our training providers are as fuel efficient as possible, moving towards a neutral fuel usage, that it is important that curricula throughout those areas contain the information that people need in order to ensure that they too move towards a carbon neutral situation. And I think it's absolutely vital that this council takes a lead in ensuring that the future of its citizens in 20 years' time, 40 years' time, 60 years' time, that there actually is a future for them by ensuring that our future leaders take this issue far more seriously than perhaps we have done over the past 30 years.
Louise Miles.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I agree with my colleague, Councillor Bateman, when he makes the comments, Councillor Stevenson, about your attempts to dilute our motion before the Council. And it brings to mind, once again, the comments that one of our former colleagues, Alan Garner, used to make about the Conservatives knowing the cost of everything and the value of nothing, even apparently when it comes to climate change. From my point of view, and with regard to the specific points you make, your amendment is unnecessary. We are aware that, of course, the devil is always in the detail, and so I've already set in motion a system of briefings and meetings which will now take place so that we in Resources can show our full commitment to this motion by looking at our financial commitment and what that will mean in terms of finances. So the points you raise actually will be answered. In addition to that, part of the brief now includes human resources. So absolutely I take your point about the use of plastic, disposable coffee cups and that kind of thing. And together with our staff, and that's actually I think one of the most exciting aspects of this motion, Madam Mayor, that together with our staff we can now think of ways to make this happen and think what do we need to do literally in the building to show our commitment. Thank you.
Councillor Bangor.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I agree. I think a lot has already been said, and I would like to thank the youth members that have come out today. And it's absolutely critical that we push this forward. And I'm not going to say much about my colleagues who have disappeared on the other side of the chamber because it can't be very important to them if they're not still there. And I would really think that something like this, an issue like this, is kind of one of the issues that, regardless of your party, I mean, I'm just giving you an example. In the East Park ward, we have a mosque, the Ahmadiyya the community Muslim association, who get together and do a litter pick around and in the park. And we have several people who are from different fractions and different political groups who come together as tenants and residents, and also business user groups, along with faith groups, to carry out such things like litter picks. So, you know, I would have really thought that everybody would have been here present to show that we're uniform and we're looking at this collectively together. However, that's clearly not the case. Secondly, coming on to my cabinet portfolio, what I just wanted to clear up was, from our point of view, this is something that we've already started looking at, and I'm so glad that the Councillor Reynolds has actually proposed this motion. We've started looking at certain things, such as how we can enforce charging points at the point of ensuring that we give planning permission for new build properties or large developments, or even a single unit, in respect of electric charging points, which we've currently been doing now for a couple of years. So we've already started the process in some departments. In addition to that, we've also got a trees charter that is in place, which we are continually trying to see how we can additionally plant further trees to also additionally contribute towards something as such. We also look to encourage and also work with manufacturers in the automotive industry, and also in other industrial areas such as clean energy generation, and not just at Wolverhampton Council, but at a city-wide level, but rather also at the such as the Black Country level, which covers the 4 authorities, and also the combined authority level. So we are pushing that also, so we will continue to do that. And finally, just to wrap up, you know, all incoming investment who work to encourage responsible business through the corporate social responsibility factor. So no matter whether those businesses are large or small, we will be ensuring that our service directors for the city economy look carefully at investment coming in and how we address the corporate social responsibility. So I fully support this motion. Thank you very much, Madam Mayor.
Okay, I've got 4 more speakers, and I'm drawing the line there. We've got Steve Evans, Ian Brookfield, and Steve Simpkin, and then we're back to John Reynolds. So, Ian. Steve?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Council, it's vitally important that we get it right in Wolverhampton. I think this is the step in the right direction. We are not going to win the conversation with climate change unless we act, and act now. This week at the Combined Authority, and my role as the Black Country representative for the Combined Authority, we urge this to be a top priority for the Metro Mayor and the Metro Mayor's office. And let me just give you a little bit of history about the Metro Mayor and when he came to Wolverhampton last and answered questions. There was a question that came from a fellow Conservative from Shropshire who asked for the electrification of the line from Wolverhampton to Shrewsbury. The Metro Mayor declined it, and he said, I think there's not enough investment to be put in to renew the line with electrification. These attitudes have got to be stopped. This is a key priority for our youth, and our youth of today, for our adults for the future. We're going to deprive them if we do not act now. So I would urge this council, and we're taking it back to the Combined Authority into Andy Street, that this is a key priority. The Metro Mayor has got lots of money at his dispense and resource. He could invest in green technology that could give us jobs in the West Midlands and Wolverhampton specific for us to address the issue. These young children could take their positions in society by developing that technology for the greater good of the whole planet. That's what we should be doing, and this will be forcibly put by the scrutiny function at the Combined Authority by myself and fellow colleagues. So I'll commend this, and I commend the sterling work that the Youth Council has done. Let's bring them on, and let's get our city right. I commend this, Mayor.
Steve Evans, are you speaking?
I may as well do it now, Madam Mayor. I did reserve the right to speak as the seconder, and I think you said there was 4 other speakers. Is there nobody else okay? You raise what you like, brother. Oh, I took it from... Listen, there has been a lot of good words said in here tonight, particularly from this side of the chamber where those young people stood. And I think everyone agrees. And Councillor Mamenabadi's right. You know, at least 2 stop behind. And let's be clear, you know, it is political. You know, nothing happens without politics, unless you just want to follow the same old strategy. But we're trying to cast the right shadow to walk in, for you to follow in. Not a black cloud where they're not interested. We display leadership, and I feel sorry for yourselves because the inept, and it is inept, and it is irresponsible to walk out. We're one of 60 guardians on behalf of a city with a population of 260,000, millions of visitors. And you know what? There's 8 people, can't be arsed. What an utter disgrace. I don't care what the reasons why they walked out. They knew what was on the agenda. They know how serious people are taking this. They know what they have to do for their little bit locally. We know we can't change the world ourselves in this chamber, but we can set the right scene. And all they did was set themselves off, acting like children, petulant babies, and walked out. Utter disgrace. I don't want to dwell on it. I don't want to dwell on it. You might. You might, mate.
Moving on.
Okay. We've got a number of issues in my portfolio, the city environment, that I'm quite proud of, that we've already taken action, and it won't stop us continuing with these actions and further actions to achieve carbon neutral or carbon zero by 2028. You talked about the electric vehicle charge points. I'm pleased to share with this chamber that the first 6 of 15 will be delivered in August of this year. There was a request from a colleague, Councillor Hibbett. She talked about electric buses, and we are seeking investment to secure funding for our free city centre 500 bus. We want it to be electric. The tree strategy. Of course we want to protect what we got, but we know where we have to progress, like the Stafford Road, that we do offset planting. We know how important it is for cooling and taking into account particulates. That's why we've already created some natural meadows, and we did do offset planting. We have got a strategy. When you look at the ring road, we've just gone out to consultation as well, taking into account a neighbouring authority, Dudley, about traffic flow, about getting the emissions down, about keeping traffic moving. You know, we're not going to get rid of cars overnight, and neither should we, but we should be responsible. And we're doing our bit in keeping traffic moving. In terms of ensuring recycling transparency, well, we'll set up a charter that says the contractors will have to be clear where the end destination is for moving recycling. In terms of when we look at Bowman's Arbour, look, you only have to look at the EMC, which this council supported, who, by the way, have announced a partnership with BMW for electric drive units. The car industry is serious. They've already got solar power on the roofs. We are looking at PV rays. We're looking at solar power for places like Bowman's Arbour. In other words, we've got a number of good examples already. Doesn't mean that we shouldn't support the motion wholeheartedly. I know this side of the chamber does. We do support our young people. It is their place to live. We are concerned about the next generations, not just about today, it's about tomorrow. and we will cast the right shadow for people to walk in. We'll do the right things. We won't walk out, we'll walk forward.
John Reynolds.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Technically, this is my first opportunity to speak about the amendment without closing the debate. I'll just make a couple of comments on the amendment that I can now make. I mean, first of all, I was quite amazed that an amendment came when I'll hold my hand up to say the original resolution has been cribbed from all of those that are already on the climate change website, which includes very similar resolutions that was passed last night by Hertfordshire County Council, a Conservative controlled council, and by the Local Government Association, which is Conservative controlled at the moment. So I was quite amazed that we got an amendment with something that's actually been passed by Conservative councils and the LGA already. There was a comment about 2028 being an ambitious target. Let me say, I think we are an ambitious council. We are an ambitious Labour group.